out there? It's me, Steve.
Maybe we should collect all of Blue's clues
In my notebook. Blue just went right into the picture of that farm. Whoa. Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
D. Moore Docs, the complete story of Blue's Clues, Wonder 4. For a moment, do not think about today. Think about the last time you sat inches away from a living room television screen. A red crayon gripped tightly in your hand, feeling entirely certain that if you just shouted the answer out loud, the characters on the screen could actually hear you. For me, that was this morning. But anywho, whether you realized it or not, you grew up during a quiet revolution in preschool television. But I'd say by the mid-1990s, public television had already shown what respectful children's programming could accomplish. But much of commercial children's television was still built around spectacle, toy-driven entertainment, and the assumption that young viewers needed constant stimulation. Blue's Clues brought the patience and respect of public television into the center of commercial cable and added something revolutionary: participation. It didn't lecture, it listened. It treated a child sitting on the living room rug not as a passive viewer, but as an active detective. It understood that the preschooler's mind is not an empty vessel to be filled, but an investigative engine trying to make sense of this massive world. And funny thing is, Blue's Clues never looked like a high-budget technological marvel. Its world was built out of construction paper, painted wooden blocks, glitter, felt, and simple studio lighting. There was no hyper-realistic 3D animations, no cynical pop culture references, and no frantic pacing designed to hold an adult's attention. Yet millions of children sat completely transfixed, leaning forward, waiting for Steve or Joe to turn around and ask the single most powerful question in children's television. Will you help me? Yeah. And decades later, we still remember those 3 simple clues, not because they were complex, but because for 30 minutes every day, a blue dog made us feel like the smartest person in the room. Come on here. Oh, no, let me say, come here. You gotta hear this, because there is more to the story. Why the world needed a blueprint. Before Steve ever put on his striped green rugby shirt, before Mailbox announced the mail was here, and before blue pawprints appeared in living rooms across the globe, children's television was facing a crossroads. In the mid-1990s, television executives were wrestling with how children actually learned from scenes. Screens, buddy. Screens is what I meant. Traditional shows often assume kids needed rapid fire editing and nonstop visual stimulation to stay engaged, but developmental research was beginning to show something entirely different. Children learn best through repetition, anticipation, predictable routines, and active participation. Enter a brilliant team of creators and researchers: Tracy Page Johnson, Angela Santamaro, and Todd Kelsler, who looked at the landscape of children's programming and asked a daring question: what if a television show operated like a game of peekaboo? What if the viewers wasn't just watching a story, but driving it? Drawing inspiration from the developmental tradition established by public television, they stripped away the noise. They didn't use celebrity voices or celebrity voice actors or complicated plots. Instead, they built a preschool series grounded entirely in cognitive development, early childhood psychology, and interactive learning theory. Episodes and educational concepts were repeatedly tested with young children throughout development. allowing the team to refine the pacing, visual cues, and pauses before broadcast. The empirical foundation created the bedrock for a brand new style of television, but before the thinking chair, before Magenta, Periwinkle, and Tickety Tockety, there were creators looking at the way toddlers interact with their environment and translating those everyday discoveries into preschool masterpieces. And like so many extraordinary journeys, it begins with a simple sketch of a dog. Now, more reflection. True education doesn't happen when a child is told what to see. It happens when they are given the space to figure it out. Okay? Okay. Now, the creation of Blue and the construction paper world. Every iconic series started with a bold experiment. For Blue's Clues, the concept emerged from a collaborative vision of how animation and live action can merge into a seamless tactile environment. Originally, the central character wasn't even Blue. Early developmental concept art toyed with the idea of a cat or a dog in different colors, but the creative team ultimately settled on an energetic, friendly, bright blue dog. Why blue? Because it broke away from realistic animal colors, signaling immediately to a child that this was a realm of pure imagination. The visual style of the show was entirely unique. Instead of traditional cell animation or high-end computer graphics, the production design relied on tactical handmade materials. The grass was painted canvas, the clouds were cotton or paper cutouts, and the furniture was crafted with bold textures. The core premise was deceptively simple. An animated dog leaves 3 paw prints on everyday objects around her house to communicate what she wants to play, do, or eat. Her human companion and the viewing audience must collect all 3 clues, sit down in a thinking chair, and use logical deduction to solve the puzzle. It was an ingenious cognitive exercise disguised as a game. Blue's Clues was never just an entertaining cartoon. It was a daily workout for early problem-solving skills, pattern recognition, and emotional confidence. Now, finding Steve and building the house. Bringing Blue's Clues to the screen required finding a very specific kind of host, someone who could act opposite an invisible anime.
Oh, okay. We'll play Blue's Clues to figure out what time it is.
Dog while maintaining an authentic, unpretentious connection with millions of unseen children through a camera lens. Steve Burns did not arrive looking like the future face of preschool television. He had long hair, an earring, and the appearance of a young New York actor who thought he might be auditioning for a voiceover role. Some executives struggled to see him as a children's host, but when preschoolers watched him, they responded. He did not project at them. He spoke as though the camera contained one real person. Developed through Nickelodeon's creative development pipeline and produced by Nick Jr. The series assembled an exceptional team of writers, directors, and animators who understood that preschool television requires rigorous educational framing. Steve stood inside a nearly empty blue screen studio. The house surrounding him was assembled afterward from photographed paper, fabric, paint, pipe cleaners, and digital animation. The results looked deliberately tactile, not like a computer simulation, but like a preschool art table had somehow become inhabitable. You know what I'm saying? Now, the supporting cast of household objects brought richer characters and routine to every room. Tickety-tock!
It's ABC time! It's ABC time!
Turned time into personality. Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper brought family life into the kitchen. They were always getting busy making new seasons and spices.
Extra, extra, read all about it. There's big news coming to Nick Jr.
Hi, it's me, Steve. Blue and I have some really big news. Mrs. Pepper is pregnant. That means Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper are going to have a new baby. That also means Paprika's going to be a big sister. A baby! A baby! We're gonna have a new baby in the house.
Meet the new baby. It's all part of Blue's Big News, a special primetime episode October 22nd at 8/7 Central.
Shovel and Pail transformed the backyard into a place for cooperation and exploration. Mailbox made correspondings. And we had the side drawer, the keeper of the handy dandy notebook, and one of the show's greatest reoccurring rituals, Oh, I forgot my agenda. Between the handmade papercraft world of Steve's steady, reassuring presence, the production engine built a permanent home for curiosity. On September 8th, 1996, okay, now more reflection. A great host doesn't perform for children. They make children feel like they are part of the performance, okay? Keep that in mind. Okay, now let's jump back in. Bringing the clues to life, the revolutionary pacing, and the pause. What truly separated Blue's Clues from everything else on television was that its radical approach to pacing and interaction. The most radical sound in Blue's Clues was not a song or bark or a mail-time trumpet. It was silence. Steve would ask a question and wait. Not television waiting, real waiting. Long enough for a preschooler to locate the object from the word, point toward the screen, and say it out loud. The pause communicated something extraordinary. Your answer is worth waiting for. The structure of every episode was a reliable, comforting ritual. You started by looking for pawprints, played 3 distinct games or activities that reinforced early math, reading, or pattern skills, received a letter from real kids via mailbox, collected the 3 clues, and finally figured out the answer in the thinking chair. That predictable rhythm gave children a sense of mastery and emotional safety. They knew what to expect, and because they knew the routine, they felt brave enough to participate. The episode you watched 5 times. Adults often assume repetition means boredom. Preschoolers experience it differently. The first viewing introduces the problem. The second makes the structure familiar. By the third time, the child begins anticipating the answer. Eventually, they are no longer following Steve. They are getting ahead of him. The repetition becomes part of the show's broadcast strategy. Nick Jr. frequently presented the same episode throughout the week, allowing familiarity to transform into participation. What looked like rerunning was actually rehearsal. Each viewing transferred a little more authority from the television host to the child. Watching at home, researchers later found that repeated viewing could strengthen children's comprehension and increase their active verbal and nonverbal participations. The music of the thinking chair. Composers Michael Rubin and Nick Balaban gave it jazz, pop, rock, and playful improvisations. The songs did more than interpret the story. They marked transitions, reinforced routines, and turned reoccurring tracks or tasks into ceremonies that you could anticipate. The music taught kids how to count, how to spell, how to recognize shapes, and how to transition from playtime tidy up without a tantrum. On September 8th, 1996, Blue's Clues House went through its premiere episode, Snack Time. Years of congestive research, papercraft designs, and theatrical warmth, and successfully built a new standard for interactive television. More reflection, okay? When a show teaches you to think instead of what to think, it gives you a tool for life, all right? Now, growing up in the Blue House, the transition to Joe and expanding the world. As any long-running television series matures, changes become inevitable. By 2002, after 4 foundational seasons of the face of the series, Steve Burns made the decision to leave the show. Burns knew he could not remain a preschool television host forever. He wanted to pursue music and other creative works. He was visibly growing older, and he later spoke more openly about the personal struggles surrounding that period of his life. What was I about to say? Replacing the beloved host of a cultural phenomenon is often a recipe for disaster. The transition was carefully constructed, but that did not make it emotionally simple. To many children, Steve was not merely an actor leaving a program, he was a familiar friend who had spoken directly to them for years. The series, therefore, did something rare. It placed the change inside the story and allowed children to experience it rather than pretending nothing had happened. As part of a thoughtful transition arc, Steve packed his bags, introduced his younger brother Joe, played by Donovan Patton, and explained to the audience that he was growing up and going off to college, but that Joe was going to take good care of them.
Thanks. Thanks, Blue. I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you too. I'll never forget how you helped me find all those clues. You really are so smart. Which reminds me, will you take good care of my brother Joe while I'm at college? Great, because sometimes he needs a little help. Kind of like me. Well, Tickety, let me know when you count to 50, okay?
Okay.
Ooh, side table. Good luck with the singing.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, guess I'm off to college.
You mean it's time for so long?
It is?
Already?
Yeah, but we'll sing one more song.
Thanks for doing your part. You sure are smart.
You know, with me and you
And our friend Blue, we can do anything.
That we wanna do. It's the bus.
The bus is here.
Goodbye, Steve.
Bye-bye. Yeah, I'll miss you too.
Bye, Steve.
Joe, remember, Blue's paw prints will be on the clues. Blue's clues? Exactly. Thanks again for all your help.
Joe brought a more energetic rhythm to the Blue House, along with his own striped shirt, new games, and a different way of recording the clues in the handy-dandy notebook. The series continued to evolve, welcoming Blue's animated friends deeper into the fold and maintaining its status of a cornerstone of preschool education. Now, the lessons without lectures. How do you teach emotional literacy and critical thinking without feeling like a classroom? Blue's Clues succeeded by treating children's everyday curiosities with absolute seriousness. When a character felt nervous about trying something new, the show didn't rush past it. It broke the anxiety down into manageable steps. When a puzzle seemed too difficult, the clues provided a logical bridge from confusion to clarity. The tactile elements, the thinking chair, the handy-dandy notebook, the mail letters from real children, were all metaphors for internal growth, I should say. Blue wasn't just an animated dog, she was the embodiment of childhood curiosity, always asking questions, always exploring, and always inviting the audience to look closer at the world around them. More reflection. True curiosity isn't about having all the answers, it's about knowing how to look for the clues. You dig what I'm saying? Now, a cultural landmark, if you will. Syndication, legacy, and the digital era. Blue's Clues quickly climbed to become the highest rated preschool show on American commercial television. Serving as a vital anchor for Nickelodeon's growing preschool identity, its innovative format reached far beyond domestic screens, translating into roughly 15 languages and broadcasting across some 120 countries, often featuring localized hosts tailored to international markets. The original series produced 143 episodes across 6 seasons, laying the technical and educational groundwork for modern interactive media interfaces, generational preschool programs today. As the generations that grew up searching pawprints entered adulthood, Blue's Clues took a legendary status online. Its nostalgic imagery and memorable songs found new life across social media, retrospectives and childhood memory. Discussions then in 2021, Steve Burns released an emotional anniversary message directly addressing his grown-up audience about how proud he was of us.
Hi. You got a second? Okay. You remember how when we were younger we used to run around and hang out with Blue and find clues and talk to Mr. Salt, freak out about the mail and do all the fun stuff. And then one day I was like, oh hey, guess what? Big news. I'm leaving. This is my brother Joe. He's your new best friend. And then I got on a bus and I left. And we didn't see each other for like a really long time. Can we just talk about that? Great. Because I realized that was kind of abrupt. I just kind of got up and went to college. And that was really challenging, by the way, but great because I got to use my mind and take a step at a time, and now I literally am doing many of the things that I wanted to do. And then look at you, and look at all you have done, and all you have accomplished in all that time. And it's just so amazing, right? I mean, we started out with clues, and now it's what? Student loans, and jobs, and families, and some of it has been kind of hard. You know? I know you know. And I wanted to tell you that I really couldn't have done all of that without your help. And in fact, all the help that you helped me with when we were younger is still helping me today, right now. And that's super cool. I guess I just wanted to say that after all these years, I never forgot you. Ever. And I'm super glad we're still friends. Thanks for listening. You look great, by the way. Whatever it is you're doing, it's working.
Which resonated across digital platforms as a profound cultural moment for a generation that had never received an adult explanation directly from Steve. The message felt like a conversation that had been paused for nearly 20 years and had finally resumed. He did what the show had always taught him to do. He looked into the camera, addressed the viewer directly, and acknowledged how much had happened while they were apart. Man, this moment eventually led to a historic on-screen reunion alongside Joe and later host Josh Dela Cruz. The franchise continued expanding its universe through the puppet-based spin-off Blues Room.
Hi, you. Blues Room. Now that we're here, just me and you, let's talk, play, pretend. There's so much we can do. It's so great to have a good friend like you.
Yes, it's true.
I can talk to you. Yay! Yay!
Happy birthday,
Louder!
theatrical and streaming releases like Blues Big City Adventure and a full modern revival through Blues Clues and You. The original game ended, but the central idea proved too durable to remain in one era. Now, one more reflection. Nostalgia isn't just missing the past, it's remembering the exact moment you felt safe enough to wonder. You know what I'm saying? Now, the last mailbox delivery. The final season and saying goodbye. On August 6, 2006, the final episode of the original series aired. By then, however, Blue had already began stepping beyond the format that introduced her. Blue's room gave her a voice and a new puppet-built environment where the original Blue house prepared to become a memory for the children who had grown up inside it. Growing up means entering a world that rarely waits. Questions become deadlines. Problems become emergencies. People begin answering before you finish speaking. Now the final circle. The gentle squeak of the thinking chair, a soft breeze rustling through paper, cutouts, and a crayon scratching across a blank page. But once a man in a striped green shirt looked directly at you through a television screen, asked what you thought, and remained completely silent. He waited because the show believed you would find the answer. Maybe that's why we remember Blue's Clues so clearly. It was not simply the first show that asked us to participate. For many of us, it was one of the first places where an adult appeared to value our response. Can I ask you something? When was the last time you sat down in your own thinking chair and really looked at a problem? Not with panic, with wonder. The absolute certainty that if you pay attention, the answer is right in front of you. Blue's Clues taught us that intelligence does not begin with knowing the answer. It begins when someone believes your answer is worth waiting for. A distant jazz piano chord rings out once more, followed by a soft puppy bark, fading slowly into absolute quiet room tone. I am D. Moore, and remember, there is more to the story. End of Wonder 4.